Talking with the experts.
Explore a new approach to business with Sid Mohasseb, who discusses shifting from pro-centric models to seeking harmonized satisfaction in episode 514.
We have to be environmentally conscious of what we do with the environment. In return, they provide us with a crime, level that's acceptable. They provide us with a pool of employees that are educated, that are capable, that are skillful, with safety and roads and all of that. And in return, we provide them tax and other things. There is an exchange there too. Now, these 5 pillars interact all the time. So this is not a one-time process that you say, okay, I've got all of this done, because the world is changing. My customers are not the same customers as 2 years ago or 5 years ago. Their expectations have changed, justifiably so. They want better. They deserve better. Their needs has changed. The people that I was selling to, maybe they were 24 years old 5 years ago. Now, there's some other people who are 24 years old, and those are the people I'm selling to.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, where we believe that success is a journey, and every journey is easier with help from friends. That's why we bring you top-notch experts and real business heroes eager to share their lessons from the road to success. We delve into new topics each week: effective marketing strategies, innovative problem solving, financial planning, and team building. We tackle everything you need to know to grow your business and keep it thriving. Whether you dream about launching your first startup or a business veteran looking to shake things up, we've got you covered. With each episode, you'll gain knowledge, boost your confidence, and be inspired to take action. So, grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and join our exciting journey. You're not alone in this. We're here, guiding you, cheering for you, and celebrating each milestone. Let's turn your business dreams into reality, starting today. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is all about business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Sid Mohasseb. I hope I've sounded that correctly. And he is going to be talking about how profit is an effect that is an outcome of actions and decisions made by customers, employees, partners, investors, and society. Now, Sid is known as the Entrepreneur Philosopher. He believes in our individual ability to shape our destiny and, regardless of our origins, reveal and constantly enrich our authentic self, to evolve always and not leave change to chance. He is a best-selling author. He is a TEDx speaker. He's an advisor to Fortune 500 leaders and an innovative thought leader who has built multiple companies and invested in many more. Sid, welcome to Talking with the Experts. It is such a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure is mine, Rose, and happy to be with your audience.
Lovely. I'm looking forward to learning more about redefining the business models. If you could just explain what they are and how they work.
So, we're taught for forever in business schools and a lot of places that the target or the objective of a company is making profits. Now, I'm not questioning the need to make a profit, but profit is an outcome, and it begins with what you would sell as revenue or sales. So let's look at that first. The decision of generating revenue for you, whatever business you're in, is not the company's decision. You don't make the decision of how I want to. Yeah, you may dream of making money. You may like to make money. You may like to sell. But the fact that you have 1 person or 100 people on your sales force, none of them have the decision to buy. The customer does. The customer makes that decision. So let's begin with this idea that that there really is the decision of making money is not yours, it's theirs. So if you look at that, how would they make that decision? They make that decision based on what I call an exchange of something for another thing, an exchange that satisfies them somehow or another. So somebody may buy a Honda as a car or a Toyota, and they pay X dollars and they're happy with it because it's secure, because it's safe, because it gets up, it drives every day from point A and point B. Somebody else may not be satisfied with that and is willing to pay 4 or 5 times more to get a Ferrari or a Rolls Royce. Somebody could get a handbag for $10, and functionally it does, carries your makeup or carries your things and your wallet and stuff. And somebody may pay $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 for a Gucci or Louis Vuitton bag. The functionality is not necessarily the only thing that you exchange with as a customer. You have a collection of things, and that's known generally as the bundle of satisfaction. So the decision of your revenue is in the hands of somebody else, which is the customer, and that decision happens when this exchange is to his or her favor. That is, there's a bunch of stuff that comes together, they make a decision and do some transaction. So let's examine that. That could be based on the functionality. It could be based on the brand. Some people buy an Apple because it's just the part of the community. They're good with it. They're comfortable with it. It could be based on the cause that the company has. You like environmentally conscious companies, and you're have a better relationship with them, and you like to do business with them. It may be based on prestige, like the Louis Vuitton bag. I buy this because when I go to a party, it looks good. Or buy a Ferrari because I don't know, I'm a hot stud that wants to say, an old guy who wants to say I'm still hot. There is a reason beyond the functionality of the products. So those reasons will drive those exchanges. Now, this is one pillar of 5 pillars for you to have a good business. The other pillar is the employees. They have an exchange as well. Now, the employers, those who have companies, those who think that they're hiring people, assume that they are hiring. But the fact is, the employee actually agrees to be hired. They agree, so there is an exchange. Sometimes this exchange is just how much money you get. I have a need. I have to pay for rent. I have 2 kids. So I'll say, okay. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that I'm going to give you my best. I just agreed to that number, but I didn't agree to give you my best. But for you to get my best, which is all of me, all of my creativity, all of my efforts, all of my innovation, my 3 o'clock thinking in the morning, the exchanges that I have to do with my family and balancing all of that, I didn't get into that relationship because of the money. I got into it because of other things. It could be the culture of your company. It could be the options that I get as an early stage. So you have a lot of people who say, okay, I don't need as much money. Give me the options because I believe in what you're doing, and I think I'm going to make a lot of money like the Silicon Valley folks. Or it may be that your benefits. I have a mother who's not feeling well, or a child who is sick. So the insurance is really what I'm after. It could be that I have 2 kids and my wife and I go to work and we've got these 2 small kids, and where do I put them? So maybe you have a childcare center next to you, and that's really what I like. Or maybe you're okay with me to work out of home for a certain number of days. So it's not just the money. It's not just the money. There is an exchange. So this value exchange happens on the customer side. It happens on the employee side. It also happens on the investor side. So the investor gives you some money, and this investor could be your dad, your cousin, your friend, or your credit card. There is that you have to negotiate with your husband and your wife to use to do what you need to do, or it could be a investor, an angel investor like me, or a VC, or a private, whatever, depending on the size of your business. That investor also has an exchange relationship with you as a company. Yes, they expect a return, but that's not all. They expect you to be trustworthy. They expect you to be coachable. They expect you to be flexible. They also expect the company, maybe if somebody makes an investment in a company that is that's finding the cure to cancer, it's because not necessarily the return that they get, but their sister had cancer, so they have an affinity to that. You have some investors that want to become like the Ubers of the world, or the Airbnbs, or so they're willing to take less now and take a bigger risk so they get a bigger return. Some investors, no, they want a 5% return on something, or 7% annual return, or dividends. They are different. So their exchange with you as a company is also different. Now, before I talk about the other two, let's talk about this balancing or harmonizing aspect. So you are my investor, you're looking for 8-10% return. My employees are also looking for the same pot of money that's coming in. Do I give it to them, or do I give it to you? Or do I cut the cost for the customer so they have a better exchange? So there is a give and take. I've got to satisfy all of you. If I give too much to my to the investors and not give enough to my employees, or cut costs in other sense, well, what's going to happen? I'm going to have poor quality. I'm going to have this, and then it's going to impact my customer. If I give everything for free to my customer, they'll be very happy. But then how do I pay my customer, my employees? And how do I pay my other pillar, which is the partners, the suppliers? And when I say partners, and people are usually looking at that as the supply chain. You're making a mouse. It has some characteristics to it. It has a roller. Somebody makes the roller. Somebody makes the cover, and you pull them all together, and boom, you have some sort of a product. Or a computer has a screen and a keyboard and all that, and it comes from different places. But those are your partners, supply chain partners. But the people that clean your office, they're also your partners. If they don't do a good job, they're your partners. The utility company is your partner. All of those people who who facilitate what you do, they're also have an exchange. They also have an exchange. Your partner does business with you because they may expect you to be a consistent, put consistent orders. So they negotiate a better deal for you. Or they may want you to buy their products because you're Apple. And they say, hey, they could put that on their site and say, hey, look, Rose is my client. Isn't that something? I've made it. So the security of the payment, the timing of the payment, the prestige, all of that becomes another element, and there is an exchange there. So do I delay payment, for example, to my partners and meddle with that exchange and give a bonus to my employees, or an early return to my investors, or expedite the shipping to my customers? These are the dynamics that are happening. And the last thing is the society. The society is also one of those pillars. We have a business in a city, in a town, in a place. We have to be environmentally conscious of what we do with the environment. In return, they provide us with a crime level that's acceptable. They provide us with a pool of employees that are educated, that are capable, that are skillful, with safety and roads and all of that. And in return, we provide them tax and other things. There is an exchange there too. Now, these 5 pillars interact all the time. So this is not a one-time process that you say, okay, I've got all of this done, because the world is changing. My customers are not the same customers as 2 years ago or 5 years ago. Their expectations have changed, justifiably so. They want better. They deserve better. Their needs has changed. The people that I was selling to, maybe they were 24 years old 5 years ago. Now, there's some other people who are 24 years old, and those are the people I'm selling to. And those people are in the Generation Z, and they have a different expectation than the folks before. Their technology is different. The way I have to reach them is different. The way I have to communicate is different. The product features and functionality is different. The pricing is different. The experience that they like is different. It's all different. And the employees are different. The employees today are not the same as before COVID. They have different expectations. They have different desires. The whole notion of work-life balance has changed quite a bit than the days that I started. When I started, after I built a company when I was in college, and then sold it and joined a consulting firm. The first year I worked 3,600 hours. That is almost 9 months more than a year. So in a year I worked close to 2. Now, that was acceptable, and I was young, and I had, but today I can't expect anyone to work that. I mean, nobody should be that stupid to live life and work that hard. But in those days, I had other colleagues that were doing the same. It was okay. That was the norm. So employees' expectations have changed. The partners have changed. Everybody, the society has changed. See what's happened to our environment, and how people are looking at all the stuff that's happening to us. So this is where the challenge comes in. The challenge comes in that the profit is really an act of harmonizing all these pillars. If you can harmonize them right, you will make a profit, which is the effect, not the cause. The cause begins with these optimizing, harmonizing these different exchanges. And if you get them right, you will make a profit, because what you've done is you've defined the right value exchange at every stage of your business, and that would lead to a decision by the customer to buy, to a decision by the employees to create, to innovate, to work hard, by partners to be really providing you the best relationship, by investors to believe in you and see results and be on your team, and by the society to provide you with what you need. If you've got all those, the profit is an effect. It's not.
No, it's a really interesting way of looking at it. I think a lot of business owners don't look at their business in that way, that everyone has an investment in their business, whether they be, the purchaser or the employee or the supply or, whatever. And I think, people often forget that all of those people make a business, and they've all got something that they offer, and they all take something away from you. So yeah, it's a really interesting concept, and I think a lot of us could benefit from thinking in that way.
And there are companies, those that you could see examples of when things get out of whack, then how the companies suffer. When Walmart didn't behave in a certain way with employees, things went haywire. When we have situations like with Jeff Bezos and environment, and all the stuff that they're going through with antitrust and whatever, they have a problem. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, behaved the way he did, and he wasn't imbalanced, he had a problem. Now, he doesn't have that problem, for example, at SpaceX. The reason is SpaceX people, the employees there, have bought into a cause. Their exchange is entirely different than the people at Twitter. Their exchange is about going out and conquering the universe. They're willing to stay longer, work harder, because they have a bigger mission. The exchange is different. You can't carry one exchange from one environment to another environment.
No, I think that's very true. I think if you're selling widgets and then you want to go and sell shoes, you can't take the widget environment to the shoe environment because the customer is different, and as you say, the employees are different and the supply chain is different. So yeah, you have to I guess balance how you go about doing exchanges with the people that you are
Correct.
with.
So I used to use the word balance. You mentioned balance. I used to use the word balance, but I've learned that balance implies equality. Okay, harmonizing doesn't. So let me explain myself. And I have the same situation, same problem with the work-life balance. I call it harmonizing work and life. If you're making music, if there's an orchestra, not all instruments have an equal time to play. The guitar doesn't play 22 minutes, and then the drum plays 22 minutes, and the saxophone plays 22 minutes, and the bass. No, that doesn't work. They come in and go smoothly without notice. They make a harmony. So we have this notion that work-life balance, for example, is I'm here at 5, I go at 12. No, that doesn't work that way. That becomes then stressful. It becomes, because we're trying to always balance these things, and it doesn't work. But if we look at it as a harmonizing act, then it's okay. For 2 minutes, the saxophone plays, and then the drum comes in, and that's what makes a symphony. That's what makes life great, and that's what makes businesses great. And this symphony, if you would, this harmonizing of these exchanges, of these bundles of satisfaction. The employees have a bundle of satisfaction that they require. The customers, the partners, they all have their own bundle of satisfaction, and those bundles are always changing. So it's not one time that you optimize this and okay, let me go home, done. Because all the investors may have asked for 3% because that was the norm. Now they're asking for 12%. Why? Because the environment changed, the world changed. You have to deliver one kind of a product or innovate something, and then 2 days later you see somebody in China or in Japan or in somewhere around the world has created a new product that just puts you out of business. Okay, so the dynamics has changed. Somebody says red shirts are now today this in season. Well, you didn't know before. So you have to change your product, your structure, the way you do your designs, everything has to change. And things go fast. On some Gen Z, I read this somewhere, which amazed me. Some Gen Z product companies that are providing online products to Gen Z introduce 6,000 different products a day, designs. Can you imagine? Because people want this change. So they've figured out, so the old-fashioned structure, if you would say, in that business, for me to come in, do certain things, and then plan this and plan that, and a year and a half later, introduce something new, it doesn't work anymore. So things are changing really fast, really fast. And people, all these pillars are changing fast. So a good business must harmonize these at all times. That means being aware. That means being attentive. That means having the courage to change. Having the courage to say I was making a mistake. It's okay to change directions. It means pushing the envelopes of being nervous, having the art, what I call the art of nervousness. You know, when you're nervous is when you're doing something that you hadn't done before. When you're pushing your envelope, it's great. That's when you're making a difference. That is
Yeah, I like
exactly when
that
we're
word
making.
harmonizing. I think it is a lot better than balance. And I'm going to change my vocabulary now about that. I think that's a great word, and you're right in what you say. And you know, businesses need to be adaptable to the changing environment, as do employees and supply chains, and all of those things that are affected by, you know, outside influences. And so adaptability really is a big key to having a successful business. I think you can't, I mean, I've worked for organizations where I could see where change could benefit the business. And, you know, I'd go to the boss and say, you know, why don't we try this? He said, oh, no, we've been doing it this way for years and years, and we're not going to change anything. And I thought, okay, so you're not a very good business because you can't see that, you know, a process that you take 10 steps to do, I could do in 5 and still achieve the same outcome, you know, is not a benefit to your business. And so, yeah, I was quite often
So
not
Rose,
at that business very long.
yeah. So Rose, you mentioned that one of the TED Talks that I've done. I've done a couple. The latest one actually begins with this idea of change. So let's imagine something together. Let's imagine it is spring. Let's imagine the birds are chirping. Let's imagine the weather is absolutely perfect, a little breeze. And Rose, you're doing exactly what you wanted to do, what you always dreamed of doing. You're, I don't know, you're a scientist, Nobel Prize winner. You are, you know, you're an actress. You know, you're a teacher. Whatever you dream of being, you are that. And you have a kid that is absolutely perfect, gorgeous, 5 years old. Now, imagine there's no change. That kid will always be 5 years old. You will always do the same thing. You will always eat the same thing. You will always have the same stuff happening to you. That is disastrous. I tell you, change is our best friend. It is the only friend that provides us with options that help us progress. The only friend. You have no other friend in the world. No other friend gives you options all the time. And
I think change is great. You know, I'm a change maker in certain areas of you know, business and life, and you know, I'm quite often an early adopter to new technology, because, you know, I just like the fact that technology can help me do better in any way I do. And so, you know, when GPT came about, I couldn't wait to try it. I thought it was, and now I love it. I just use it for absolutely everything. And it, you know, helps me, you know, write my articles. It helps me write meta descriptions for my website. And, you know, I mean, I don't use all of the words that it suggests. I add my own. However, you know, it helps me think outside the square.
yeah. And you know, in my first book, I opened the first chapter is called The Addiction. The addiction to the sameness that we have, Rose. You mentioned that fellow that you went to your boss and says, do this, and it says, oh, no, we want. So if you look at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is a collection of all companies that started maybe in 1959, 57, somewhere around there, with 500 companies. And they said, these are the best and the brightest companies with the best and the brightest CEOs. They are the best. About 3-4 years ago, when I last looked, about 85% of those companies are gone. So what happened? What happened to them?
They didn't like
Did they
change.
become stupid? They didn't change. They didn't change. And out of that 15%, the 15%, only 2% are actually doing better than the average of S&Ps in performance. Only 2% of
Yeah,
those
not much, is
500.
it?
So what happens is we get addicted to sameness. We get comfortable. It's an addiction. It's an addiction because that comfort is like it injects something in us. Just like if we're a drug addict or an alcoholic or whatever you want, whatever we're addicted to, that gives us some level of comfort that, hey, this repeats and it's good and I'm comfortable while we're destroying ourselves. While we're destroying ourselves, but we don't know it. We don't know it. We are both the art and the artist of our life. We create ourselves, we then improve ourselves, and we're always building the next best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well,
most of us are anyway.
Pardon me?
Yeah. And change can be scary, but if you don't change, or at least attempt to change, you're going to just be same, and you're not going to progress with the times because everything is changing. The world is changing every single second, millisecond even. So yeah,
That's exactly right.
absolutely right. Sid, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom today. I can't believe that you brought so much in such a short time. It's been really helpful for me too, because now I will change the way I think about stuff, and it will change the way that I use my vocabulary. It will change one of those words.
Go
definitely.
harmonize and make symphony. Business is not a chore. Business is not something that you have to look at as when I say business, you could be working somewhere. It doesn't matter. We're all entrepreneurs, and let me explain that. The definition of entrepreneurship, if you go back to the 1700s, is an entrepreneur is someone who has something, who wants to exchange it with something better. You have something. This could be your idea. This could be your time. This could be a product. And you want to change it with something better. The element of risk was added 50 years later. It says, oh, yeah, you have something. You want to change it with something better, knowing that there is a risk that it doesn't work, right? If you take that context, you go to work, you exchange your time to get something better. Now, you define what that exchange or what that better is. Is it better, as we talked about, is it better options? Is it better salary? Is it better home care? Is it better benefits? Is it because it's close to you? You decide what you're exchanging your time, your creativity, your innovation, your abilities with. I would, with that definition, propose to you that every student is an entrepreneur. They go to work, their parents spend some money, they sleepless nights, they work, and they expect to get a degree, thinking that that degree would make their life better. But there is a risk. I would propose that Martin Luther King was an entrepreneur. Now, they're not looking for money. They're looking for something else. That exchange is defined differently. So what I'm talking about it doesn't have necessarily to do with this is for-profit, non-profit, a business person or not. We all have those 5 elements, by the way, that we harmonize in some way or form. Your kids at the dinner table are your customers.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we all have a relationship with each other, whether it be in marriage or with your siblings or with, the broader community. There is a partnership, there is an exchange of some type, that makes the world go round.
So my suggestion to people is when they say, hey, I'm not an entrepreneur, I say you are one, you just don't know it. And if you begin to think about it, I mean, for your audience that have businesses, I want to challenge them to think 10 minutes of what exchanges they have with their employees, with their people, and if they're individuals who work, let's think about this harmonizing concept. Let's think about, as opposed to balancing A and B, harmonizing A, B, C, and D, making music with it, because I think that's a lot more fun, and I know it produces more profit. If you go to some great companies like the Tata Group in India and some others, I mean, they all have ups and downs. They've done this pretty well in periods of time, and you see that the profits go over the moon. The profits go over the moon, because when you're doing that, everybody, if the exchange is right for everybody, you don't have 100% of something. You have 5 times 150% of everything, and that engine works better.
Well, yeah, I think I'm just going to change the way I think of it, of everything now. You've opened my mind up to other possibilities, and I love this thing about exchange and harmonizing. I think it's a great concept. Sid, it's been an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
My site, which is my lastname.com, mohasseb.com, and my email is sid@mohasseb.com, so I'm very easy to find. And I would love to hear from people, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm everywhere. I'm LinkedIn, on Facebook, and all the different channels. And my books, I think, if this idea of exchange and the idea of change makes sense to you, my latest book is You Are Not Them. You'll find it everywhere. I would recommend that, and there's in audio forms and others. And for you, Rose, if what we talked about change made sense, I would recommend an investment of 14 minutes to listen to the TED Talk.
I will do that. I will find that and I will listen to it. Sid, thank you so much for joining me today, and
Thank
I
you for
look
having
forward
me.
to I look forward to talking with you again soon.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.